morning, East Africa, and welcome to YoungFrica this time, your television show continent showcasing discussions and interviews on youth-related issues. I am Ridwan, and this is CBA. Today, I have with me Mubarak Mohamud, who is an engineer and one of those guys who had traveled out of the country and returned recently to work on his idea in developing a powerful product, a child of technology. And you know, one thing that makes me so glad today is this, because we are looking at technology, the place of technology in the development of Africa. And I have somebody who is working on a very beautiful product, and we have the privilege to welcome Mubarak Mohamud. Mubarak Mohamud, good morning, and say hi to viewers at home.
Thank you so much. Hi Ridwan. Hi all of you. I hope you guys doing well.
Yeah, they're sure doing welcome. Well. Mubarak, yeah. And I am sure you are also doing well. It's a good thing to have you in the studio today, I must confess. Knowing exactly who you are, having interacted with you in a number of times. Mubarak, quickly tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. If I, tell you about myself, basically my name is Mubarak Mohamud. Right now, we are in Hargeisa, for those of you who are viewing from somewhere else. So basically, I was born in Ethiopia, Eastern Ethiopia. It's called the Somali inhabited region of Ethiopia. Then I moved to Somaliland, Hargeisa, where I was here for 4 years of in primary and middle school. Then I moved to school called Abarso outside of Hargeisa for 4 years of school. Then I moved to the U.S. for university in bachelor's in computer science and electrical engineering. And currently I'm continuing there, studying electrical engineering and computer science still, but focusing on robotics. So that's that. Right now I'm in Hargeisa because I just wanted to, come back and see how things are going after 5 years, what I can, add to the country, how I can, pay back. So
it's a sweet thing to know that you are into robotics. Mubarak, robotics is a sweet field in engineering.
It is.
Because, for so many reasons, really. Yeah. And we're coming to talk about that at the other aspects when we get to more complicated discussions on the show. Mubarak, what was growing up like for you in Somaliland, or as it were, Ethiopia?
So, being born in Ethiopia, basically it's a place called Ogaden. I'm pretty sure a lot of you haven't heard of it, or some of you have. Everybody there, say 19 plus people, 90 plus % of the people in that region are nomads. So I was like 5 years old. Everybody was just herding the camel, goats, sheep, cow, whatever. And 5 years old, you have a responsibility to take a herd, be responsible. And the conversation, school, education, not even in my vocabulary. So basically when I was 10 plus, I realized there was something else, because the first I used to see cars growing up sometimes, but I was very young and never realized what they were. They were kind of part of nature to me, and at some point I realized, oh, this is man-made. And I was like, whoa, there is a different life, there is a different life for me to pursue. There are, more interesting things for me to do. So I moved to Hargeisa, and Hargeisa was, for me, like, I had no family in Hargeisa, and it was, it was very difficult. But like, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I was going. And even though, at some points I was like, this is education, this science, this, social sciences, whatever I'm doing doesn't seem like it's gonna help me, build a car in the future. But at the end of the day, I knew if I just move forward, there is a point where I can build a car, So for me, that was my drive.
I think your drive is interesting and very fascinating. Moving from a camel orientation to robotics orientation
Right.
is a very big one, really. And now, let me ask you, has engineering been part of your, say, career dream from that childhood that you were? Or did coming into engineering happen later in life?
Yeah, engineering in general, I guess the first time I decided I want to go to school is the first time I realized a car was a man-made thing. So in a way, because I didn't know what car is.
That's funny, really.
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking before? Was car just something that came out of chance or something?
Part of nature.
Oh, part of nature.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So basically, the fact that I didn't even know what car was means I didn't understand what or know what engineering itself is, because I don't even know what car is. But the fact that at the same time a car, which is an engineering marvel, inspired me to go to school means engineering was part of my identity, was part of my drive. So yes, I guess engineering was it was a motivation for me for all along, but I didn't know engineering was a thing until I was later in high school.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and computer science, actually I learned about computer science, and I mean an electrical engineering as a field. I actually learned about it in high school.
Really, I can connect with your story.
Yeah.
A friend of mine once told me something. He said the first time he got fascinated to wanting to study computer was the time he was about to register for something as a very local child, and the person to register him asked of his name.
Yeah.
They said, "What is your name?" Like me answering saying Ridwan, and automatically the person punched it on the keypad and his name appeared, and it was like, oh my God, my name on the screen, and he was blown away. So I can really relate with you thinking that cars, motorcycles, bikes are natural things. No. Yeah. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And I think this is the beauty of traveling and seeing life in different ways. Now, let's quickly talk about traveling too. Now you have been to Ethiopia, you were here in Somaliland, you also studied at the USA. What is traveling like for you? How has it helped you? How has it contributed to your personal development? A lot of people have said so many things about traveling as part of education. For you, how do you see traveling now?
I see traveling, as I see development itself. If you, I guess, thinking about yourself from the day you were born, like from that day on today, like all you know is from the people around you, the people you interact with. So being a normal child, I knew my dad, my mom, my sibling, and a couple of other neighbors who used to stick around with us. So that was my circle. Those were people who were teaching me everything I knew. And when you travel, that circle just gets bigger. You literally
expands.
you literally just the diameter just gets longer, means it gets bigger. And especially coming to Hargeisa, I learn a lot of things. I learned what works for people, how I can survive in a system that wasn't set up for me, and my background. In moving to the US, I had the chance to meet just so many people from so many different backgrounds, countries, languages, and having all of those people in your circle at the same time means your circle literally exploded in a second.
Goodness.
So you learn by traveling, you learn so much every time.
So Mubarak, what you're trying to say now is that traveling alone is not just education, but that thing that tries exposure.
No, I'm saying traveling itself is education.
Wow. Woo.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. because you learn from people, and from traveling, I mean, you meet people.
Yeah, and so
you
it
meet
gets
ideas,
expanded, and you get to know so much by interacting with different people from different places. in the
Exactly,
world.
yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, let me now ask you a question on your personal life. Like, now, what do? You said from a very childhood of being a nomad, cattle, camels, now you are done with your education, first degree, studying electronics and all of that in a faraway land as the USA, coming back home, now into your master's. What do you do at the moment? What do you do?
So at the moment, basically, I'm doing two things. So initially I said, right now I'm on a break. Basically, I took a break from my master's to come back to Somaliland and Somalia, Ethiopia, and see what I can do to give back later. So right now I'm working on a platform called ganacihub.com. If you know, it's a classified artist list. It is basically a platform where anybody who wants to sell a product, can just list there on, for free, and then they will be able, other people will see it and connect with them and buy from them. And this is not a new idea in the world, but it is kind of new here.
Definitely, it's new, and I'm beginning to see the Alibaba of Somaliland here sitting in front of me.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see Alibaba Express happen in an African setting too, and I'm really wishing you guys the very best. So
thank you.
Tell me about it. Tell me, what is the role? What is the job like? What exactly are those things that you do in current times?
Yeah.
Is what you are doing.
Yeah. So if I actually expand on that, like if I finish my answer on your first question.
Okay.
Is also I'm in my master's program, and at the same time I'm doing research there. So basically I work on robotics, my focus on robotics, as I said. I focus on drones, small drones, where I basically develop vision algorithms. Vision means like the drone will use a camera to see the environment and be able to navigate using just that camera. So I'm basically working with some professors on that algorithm, and it's been very interesting. But yeah, if we get back to your second question, in which what would
even that question, I'm interested. Like, you see, when you mentioned robotics, I began to smile because I've always read about robots, and it's super glad that you are sitting here with me in the studio. Let's talk about robots.
Okay.
There's this debate that has always been around, and it is that a time will come when robots will take over the jobs. Do you think that is true? And now that you are specializing in robotics, is it that you are an agent to that mission too?
In a way, I believe there's gonna be a time for robots to take over, a lot of jobs. But I will say, even if robots will take over the world in a way that they are interested in the world, and they are self-fulfilling beings that want to get rid of us and use this space for themselves.
Okay.
I think if that's gonna happen, that's a long time away.
Okay, I want to accept that it's going to be a long time away. I'm not ready for a robot to take over my job, and I don't think you're ready for a robot to take over your job. Now let's now.
I'm kind of ready.
You ready? Oh my goodness! Okay, then I'm ready as well. Now let's look at robots in relation with what we want to discuss today.
Yeah.
We're talking about technology, how we can use technology to drive Africa forward. To start with, we now understand that robots are coming to take over our jobs fine. We understand that you are a super good guru in the field of robotics, and that you are doing so much in the technological field to drive for change. How do you see Africa and technology at the moment?
What I will say is that at the moment, technology is what rules. Today, if you look at it, people are discussing who's gonna be the most influential country in the world for the next decade. Okay. And the conclusion is that whoever controls 5G or 5th generation telecommunication technology, in that 5th generation, technology, it's gonna be like the superpower. And pretty much that's creating a fight in the world, like between the U.S. and China and whatever. So in Africa, what I'm seeing is that there is it's not up to the task,
It's not up to the
yeah.
task.
And the problem is that for me, I came back from the U.S. for just because I want to give back. I want to see what I can add to my country, And what I realized is that registering a company in Somaliland, in Hargeisa, where I was born, where I was grew up, and I'm a citizen of, took me 3.5 weeks to get it done. Every day I'm waking up, going to a government office, talking to this guy, he sends me to another place. It's just so difficult. But compared to the US, where I was there for just for school, it would take me about 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and less money.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
you're cutting down on cost, you're cutting down on stress, you're cutting down on
everything. Like literally everything. So the problem is that we're not.
If you would grade technology, Africa, like on what percentage would you grade the technologies, like the advancement now?
Well, like one unfortunate, I guess, fact is that Africans don't travel to each other as much as they travel to outside of Africa, and I'm definitely proud of that.
Okay.
So if I say something, I'm gonna tell you like about what I know about Djibouti, Somaliland, Somalia, Ethiopia. That's about it. That's all the places I've been in Africa. So technology, I feel like compared to the rest of the world, like it is like if you say like 1 to 10, we'll say like 2.
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
That's a huge one, and that's a very wide margin.
Yeah.
2 to 10.
Yeah.
That's like 20% of 100.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now let me ask you, if we want to bridge this gap, if we want to come up to arrest the situation, what must we do?
That's a good question. That's like, I guess it's connected to somehow to a brief situation. So the problem is I talk about how difficult it was for me to set up a company, to register a company in Somaliland, and how much easier it was in the US. And that is not just registering a company. It's like fighting in Africa, I feel like it's a lot more difficult. In those other countries who got ahead, it's like they pursue people who they think are promising from young age. They try to get all of their potential out. So and the problem is that a lot of people, when they want to do something new, when they fail for the first time, they give up, or the second time or third time, when it gets very difficult. So they made it so much easier for those people to focus on whatever they are creating, and like make everything it is so much easier, so they don't hit like too many obstacles. And in Africa, those that talent is not harnessed. And for those, like for the few Africans who are like doing really well, if you see like they are in the US or Europe or whatever, and they were studied there, they spend most of their life there. So I think the first thing Africans need to do is like create a platform for young people to innovate, just try whatever, the freedom to
not even
explore.
young people, anybody.
Yes, younger is better.
Okay, no problems.
Yeah.
Okay, and as part of the show, we are concerned about the young ones, anyways.
Yeah.
But Africa should put up platforms that encourages.
Yes,
things.
yes. Well, there's one pride example I know. Like some about the studies in Rwanda.
Okay.
Is in the U.S. I was interning with this in company called Fanu. Basically, they do telecommunication technology, and basically some guy randomly told me like, oh, we are doing like this project and this project and this project in Rwanda, and the next day he tells me other projects they are doing in Rwanda, and the next day, and I'm like, what made it so much easier for you to do stuff in Rwanda? And what I realized, he told me, oh, in Rwanda basically they encourage you to, to go there, to innovate, to invest. It's like
the doors are open.
Yeah,
like
literally.
The government are supporting people coming in.
He's like literally, I'm in the US, I'm just, kind of nothing, But if I go to Rwanda and say like
opportunities.
Yeah, and say I want to create something, I want to like bring some technology. He's like, I can meet the president. Like,
wow.
So it's like they made it easier for us to work there. So, and I feel like that's an example for people to follow.
Yeah, for other countries to follow. They should be open-minded and welcome ideas and innovation.
Yes. Yeah, we cannot be close and then,
expect people to come inside.
Exactly.
Mubarak, I think that's a very good one in terms of wisdom. And we hope that nations would work around that and make sure that they are more open to ideas and innovation. Now, Mubarak, we have Africa continent that is like fighting hard to overcome, fighting hard to develop so many problems, medical education, environmental problems. How do we go about the process of designing something that solves a particular problem? Now, talking about, we have identified a problem uniformly.
Yeah.
This is our problem. We want to address it. How do we go about doing this?
Yeah. So yes. So basically, coming up with a product is I guess the first solution you have is figuring out that there's a need for this product.
Yeah.
That this thing is gonna be useful. Because if something is not useful, and it's not useful, and you cannot prove it's useful, then I don't think you should pursue it. So first steps, like figuring out, is this useful, is this needed? When you have that, it's figuring out, is this feasible? Given all the resources I have, given all the resources I can attain, can I actually build this? So it's doing that research. Then by doing that research of understanding, is this feasible? Then you will figure out, all the tools you need. And at the same time, you need to you need to document, those tools and, figure out you can remember everything you have learned in that process. When you have that research complete, at the end of the day, you should have pretty much all the information you need to build, to start designing the product. So that's when you have that, basically that information, then you go about designing. Like it could be like literally just drawing on a piece of paper, in a detailed manner, what the product is gonna look like. It could be just taking notes of, exactly what the product you want to build is, specifically, applying to your, constraints, in your feasibility constraints. And when you have that design, then you need to go about building it. And whenever you want to do something, like I usually recommend people to do with other people, just find one or two people to do it with. It's gonna be much easier.
That's like collaboration.
Yes.
Like you're calling for people to collaborate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Mubarak, have you at any point in time done something of such nature? Can you explain this, your need, feasibility, construction, with the use of products that you have been part of?
Yes. Yes. So I can. So the first thing first is like, so I'm at MIT and I'm working on a robotics project.
Okay.
And I'm doing my degree. So at that point I was in my degree or bachelor's degree, and I wanted basically just research. And so I spoke with a professor, and he's like, "Hey, I have a project for you. I want to basically understand the skid dynamic of a small robot, a car." It's basically what he's saying is that if the car goes like straight fast, and you want to instantly want to turn, what happens?
Oh my God.
So like, is it gonna like spin? Like, well, how can we minimize that spin in order to optimize, how fast we turn?
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's like really interesting. So the first thing, I need to, understand is that like, okay, this is interesting, the professor is interested, so the need is already there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is it like, it's like first thing I want to understand is like, have people done this before? Like anything like this.
Okay.
So like I watch YouTube videos of spinning cars,
Oh my
you
God.
know, I use like all of that basically just to get familiar with the idea, you know, itself. So I watch those videos, I like search online on anything anybody have done about this product. And when I have some of that, you know, some of those products that get closer, like, you know, I write down their names, you know, the name of the project, the URL, you know, where I can find it. So later on, it means if somebody have done even part of this job before, you know, they have the resources, you know, they have the work they have already done for you. So I can, if I can get their work from that point, I can just pick it up from there and finish.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap and very good one at that.
Yeah.
Mubarak, thank you so much. You've been able to tell us so many things, especially around product design. What is the way forward for Africa in terms of technology?
Yeah.
One other question I'll quickly like to ask, and I want you to tell us is this: is there a place for youth in technology? A very quick one.
Of course.
Of course. Of course.
Technology is new and youth is the
And that
new.
energy that can drive technology. So what is it like for a child, a very young child, who wants to go into the study of technology, engineering, science? What is it like? How is it going to go through the roads?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First thing you need to figure out, if people, you know, people like a lot of stuff before they try. So first thing you need to do is actually figuring out if you actually like this.
Okay.
So if you do this, will you enjoy it? And if you're gonna do something for your entire life, or just even like 10% of it, you have to like what you are doing.
You have to like
you have to love it.
You have to love it.
Yeah, you have to love it. Otherwise, you're not gonna be, you know, you are not gonna be the best at it. You're not gonna be that good at it.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mubarak. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we would be saying a wonderful goodbye to you this time on the episode of YoungFrica, where we looked at the place of technology in driving Africa forward. With me here is still Mubarak Mohamud, who is a specialist in robotics. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much.
It's a very nice one having you down here, and I do hope that next time when we call you again, you will be part of the show again. Thank you, Mubarak, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, when we see you again, it's YoungFrica, your show, our show, the world's show. Thank you and goodbye.